Gather close, and listen, for I will tell you a tale not of a hero, but of a king, a story whispered on the winds that blow through the empty halls of forgotten castles. This is the legend of the eternal flame, and of the man who held its power in the palm of his hand. His name was King Theron, and his reign was a golden age. His city, Ethelberg, was a marvel of spires that scratched the sky and streets paved with prosperity. He was a king loved by his people, a king of justice and strength. But in the quiet of his throne room, seated upon a chair of obsidian, King Theron felt a chill that no fire could warm. It was the chill of time. He would walk through the portraits of his ancestors, seeing his own face echoed in theirs, and he would feel the relentless, silent flow of the years, carrying him, as it had carried them, toward an inevitable end. He feared not battle, nor hardship, nor the scheming of rivals. He feared the whisper of a single word, mortality. The idea that all he had built, all he had loved, all he was, would one day be dust, forgotten by the turning of the world. This fear became a shadow that trailed him, growing longer with every passing season. He began to seek what no mortal king had ever possessed. Not more land, not more gold, but more time. Eternity. He sent his scholars to scour ancient texts. He consulted wizards and oracles, who spoke in riddles of a power as old as the stars themselves. After years of searching, a frail, old seer, her eyes clouded with visions, was brought before him. She spoke of the eternal flame, a spark of the first fire ever kindled, hidden in the heart of the desolate sunken mountains. It was not a fire that warmed flesh, she warned, but a fire that fed on essence. It could grant a life unending, but it was a covenant, not a gift. It would demand a price. Blinded by his desire, Theron heard only the promise, life unending. He assembled his bravest knights and ventured into the jagged teeth of the mountains. They faced treacherous paths, creatures of stone, and a silence so profound it felt like a weight. One by one, his men, weary and despairing, turned back, until only the king, driven by a will forged of pure longing, pressed on. He found it in a cavern that breathed with a deep, inner light. There was no great bonfire, no roaring pillar of flame. In the center of the vast cavern rested a single, solitary wisp of fire, no larger than a candle's tongue, burning upon a pedestal of pure obsidian. It did not flicker. It did not waver. It simply was, a perfect, unwavering point of light in the darkness. The eternal flame. As he approached, a voice, not in his ears but in his very soul, spoke. Who seeks the fire that does not die? I am Theron, King of Ethelberg, he declared, his voice echoing. I seek the gift of eternity. The gift you seek is a burden, the voice intoned. To hold the flame is to be bound to it. Your life will be as endless as its burn. But life is defined by its limits, King Theron. Its beauty is in its bloom and its decay. To remove the end is to remove the meaning from the middle. Will you still drink from this cup? Without hesitation, Theron said, his eyes fixed on the mesmerizing, steady light. Then the covenant is struck, the voice echoed, and fell silent. Theron reached out, his hand trembling not with fear, but with anticipation. He did not take the flame, he let his hand pass through it. A warmth, unlike any he had ever known, flooded his being. It was not the warmth of a hearth, but the warmth of life itself, magnified 1,000-fold. He felt strength surge through his limbs, the weariness of his journey vanished, and the subtle aches of his years melted away. He felt a broken bar invincible. He returned to Ethelberg a changed man. At first, his immortality was a triumph. He led his armies to victories that became legend. He enacted laws that shaped a civilization meant to last 1,000 years. He watched with a satisfied smile as seasons changed, knowing he would see 1,000 more. He was no longer King Theron, he was Theron the Eternal. But the first whisper of the price came on a day of great celebration. His most loyal knight, a man who had fought beside him since they were boys, a man with laugh lines etched deep around his eyes, passed away, not in battle, but in his sleep, of simple old age. Theron stood at his friend's funeral, watching the smoke from the pyre rise to the heavens, and he felt a strange, hollow ache. He had not said goodbye to a comrade, but to a memory. He was the sole keeper of stories that no one else remembered. Years turned into decades, then a century. The wise seer who had guided him turned to dust. The children he had played with in the courtyards lived full lives and were laid to rest. Theron remained. His face, once mature and strong, now seemed a mask of ageless stone amidst a sea of changing, aging faces. The laughter in the halls began to sound different. The songs they sang were new. He was becoming a relic in his own kingdom. The second, deeper cut came when he fell in love. Her name was Ilara, a woman with a spirit as bright as summer and a laugh that could make the stone statues seem to smile. For a time, Theron forgot he was immortal. He was simply a man in love. He shared his life with her. His hopes, his dreams for the kingdom. But he never spoke of the flame. He watched, with a dread that grew each day, as a single silver thread appeared in her dark hair. He saw the first delicate line form at the corner of her eye, a line he cherished, but whose meaning terrified him. He loved her more with every passing year, even as he saw the years taking their gentle, inevitable toll on her. His own body, preserved by the flame, remained unchanged. He was a sturdy oak in perpetual spring, while she was a beautiful, autumn rose. When she grew ill at the last, he held her hand, smooth and unaging, against her own, which was soft and lined with the beautiful map of their life together. Her final words to him were a whisper. "You feel as young as the day I met you," she said, a faint, sad smile on her lips. "My love, what has it cost you?" And she was gone. Her loss was an agony the flame could not numb. It was a void in his soul that eternity could not fill. He had all the time in the world, and nothing left to fill it with. He walked the halls of his castle, a ghost among the living. He saw the great-great-grandchildren of his friends playing, and they looked upon him not with love, but with a mixture of awe and fear. He was not their king. He was a story, a monument. He was the legend of the man who could not die, and legends are not meant to be lived with. He tried to give himself to his work, to the kingdom, but his heart was no longer in it. What was the point of building a legacy that would outlast him, when he would never be outlasted? The triumphs felt hollow. The victories felt meaningless. The flame had given him endless days, but it had stolen the urgency, the precious, fleeting beauty that gives each day its value. He grew reclusive, retreating to the highest tower of his castle, watching his city from afar. He saw it change, evolve, forget him. New kings rose, with new ideas, and his golden Ethelberg became just a layer in the foundation of a newer, different city. He was not its builder anymore. He was its artifact. The weight of countless years settled upon him, a burden heavier than any crown. He had witnessed the full tapestry of life here, the birth, the joy, the struggle, the love, the loss, but he was only an observer. His own thread stretched out, thin and lonely, across the entire loom. He had all the power in the world, but he had no one to share it with. He had all the time in the world, but he had run out of life to live. Centuries after his journey to the sunken mountains, the once great King Theron, a figure of myth even to his own people, stood before a simple, small mirror in his dusty tower. He looked at his face, still strong, still unlined, and he saw not a king, but a prison. The eyes that stared back were ancient, weary oceans of memory and regret. They were the eyes of a man who had attended 1,000,000 funerals for the people and the world he had loved. In that moment, he understood the seer's warning. He understood the moral he had been too proud to hear. The flame had not given him life, it had suspended him from it. True power was not in defying death, but in embracing life, all of it, its glorious, painful, beautiful, and temporary dance. True immortality was not in an unending heartbeat, but in the love you gave, the memories you created, the good you did that echoed in the lives of those who came after you. With a resolve he had not felt in 1,000 years, he knew what he had to do. He left his tower and his empty castle, and he began the long journey back to the sunken mountains. He was an old man in a young man's body, returning to the source of his sorrow. The cavern was exactly as he had left it. The flame still burned, unwavering, a tiny, potent mockery of the sun. He stood before it, no longer a proud king, but a humbled soul. "I have returned," he said, his voice rough with disuse and emotion. The voice echoed in his soul once more. The keeper of the flame returns. What is your wish? The covenant is broken, Theron said, his voice clear and strong. I wish to give it back. I wish to feel the rain on my skin and know that the moment is fleeting. I wish to feel time's passage as a comfort, not a curse. I wish to be broken bar mortal. There was a long silence. Then, the voice spoke, and for the first time, it held a note of something like compassion. The price is paid. The lesson is learned. Theron reached out his hand one last time and passed it through the flame. Instead of warmth, he felt a profound, gentle coolness, like a balm on a terrible wound. The weight of centuries lifted from his shoulders. He felt a familiar ache in his joints, the whisper of time on his skin. He looked at his hands and saw, with overwhelming joy, the faint, honest lines of age beginning to form. He did not die in that cavern. He walked out, a mortal man, into the sunlight. He did not have many years left, and he cherished each one with a ferocity he had never known as an immortal king. He found a small village at the foot of the mountains, lived a simple life, told stories to the children, and grew old, truly old, surrounded by people who knew him as a kind, weary traveler with ancient, kind eyes. And when his time finally came, he welcomed it not as an end, but as a reunion. He closed his eyes for the last time, a soft smile on his face, finally at peace. For he had learned that the only eternal flame that matters is the one you kindle in the hearts of others, a spark of love and memory that truly, never dies.